that's an important concept to understand if you're trying to look for a way in to help people, is that you look for those cracks. I think of it as somebody with a this shell around them, but there are cracks in it. And if you can see a crack and plant a seed for them to think about, that's going to start growing and making that crack bigger. Someone who is in the initiation stage is in that really excited, they feel like they found their people kind of phase. And that's a really difficult place to get into. In one respect, you have to really be careful about not making them defensive because that'll push them further in. But if you can make them aware of, hey, you might want to be careful, and here's why, that's different than someone who's been in some controlling environment for a long time and they're thinking about leaving. There's so much at stake with their pride and their integrity and all of that that you have to be aware of. And you're going to have to customize how you approach them differently. And so, yes, you have to understand each of the phases and understand what phase they're in. And you have to have empathy for their situation, no matter which phase they're in. And you have to have some communication techniques really that focus on protecting their pride and dignity as you help them see that there's a possibility that they may be taken advantage of for someone else's gain, either for power, money, or influence. And if you focus on the mechanics and the manipulator, no matter what phase they're in, and make sure that they understand that you respect them and that you understand that the reason they're there is for very good reasons. Almost always, people, no matter whether it was the people I talked to who were in prison because of being part of the insurrection or someone that was in some um, following some guru to create peace on earth. It doesn't matter which one it is. They're good people who had good intentions, who were there, who bought into this because they really felt that there was something important. And so, no matter who you're talking to, you have to get in touch with their underlying core value systems. Why were they involved in this? And have respect for why they were involved in it if you're going to talk to them. Otherwise, kind of don't bother because you'll only make them more defensive if you don't have some kind of empathy for their situation.
Yeah, you mentioned empathy. I hear this quite a bit, and even I try to practice this too. So, a lot of people are concerned about loved ones who have fallen down all kinds of traps. Often it's political beliefs or something,
Yeah.
and it triggers their own stuff. It triggers anger, resentment, frustration. How could you? Can't you see this kind of a lot of like because a lot of it is very emotive, right? So is there is and clearly that doesn't work, right? If I start waving a finger at you, you should know better, which is what we call the Thanksgiving dinner now in the United
Yeah.
States, right? Um, we know that that doesn't work. That typically is sort of like an identity crisis. It triggers them back, and then everybody gets defensive. So, how can one actually engage this work? Do we need an interventionist? Like, I mean, because you came in as an interventionist. Is it better to have somebody who is not emotionally committed to the relationship to come in?
Not necessarily. And if that were the case, then it would be really difficult to scale. And so, anyone who cares enough to really learn about what psychological manipulation is and what works and doesn't work, and learn some effective communication skills, especially communication skills in difficult conversations. Those are things that we already know how to do to teach communication skills in difficult conversations. Those kind of techniques, along with a deep understanding of psychological manipulation, anyone can learn how to be more effective and when to push and when to pull back and how to maintain that relationship so that you can continue to work toward helping them understand that maybe they're being taken advantage of. No one wants to play the fool. No one wants to, be part of a scam of some sort. So the hard part is maintaining a relationship that's not going to make them more defensive, but to help them understand that what if? What if they're being manipulated? And that's your only concern. And if you start caring about their belief systems, which that's a really hard thing not to do, because a lot of it is you feel just this, I can't believe you believe such a stupid thing, and that's really difficult to stay out of. But the more you understand what's really going on, and you have in your toolbox some effective techniques of communication, then you can use that. And over a course of time, you can become the person who helps them out.
So I want to go back. I want to see if we can get as concrete of a starter kit. If I were a parent with a child and I think they're sucked into maybe it's the manosphere or whatever concern, whatever they're doing online, what might be the first conversation you have with them? How would that go if you were role playing in a way?
I think I would say, I'd like to talk to you about something I just read this article or I just saw this podcast, whatever, on psychological manipulation. It's a really interesting topic, and I'd love to just have a conversation with you about it. Would you be willing to talk with me about it? And I would just start with seeing how open they were to have a conversation about it. I mean, you have to do some homework first and really understand what it is you're going to be talking with them about. It's a little more difficult. There's a little more prep involved than there would be if you were just going to argue, put a stack of facts that go against everything they believe. That's like kind of an easier solution, but it doesn't work at all. But so understanding how the mechanics of psychological manipulation work is the first step. And once you feel pretty solid in that, then you want to have a conversation with them about that possibility. That's why with the AIM, uh, with our AIM project, the first thing we want to do is to kind of get out into the zeitgeist, kind of this concept of an anti-manipulation identity, that we should all want an anti-manipulation identity. Especially, it's not hard to point to the fact that everyone is competing for our attention. And everyone wants to hold our attention and to manipulate our attention. And so if you can say, okay, we know that's going on in the world. And so everyone should want to have an anti-manipulation identity. And so that's the first kind of message that needs to go out into the world, sort of by using influencers and such, and having influencers start talking about creating an anti-manipulation identity.